It was a cold, silent night in Chicago. The city lights flickered like distant stars against an inky black sky, and the usually bustling streets were eerily empty. Officer Daniel Reed, a man known throughout the force for his calm mind and steady courage, was on a routine patrol, the familiar hum of his engine, the only sound breaking the silence. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life, an urgent voice cutting through the quiet. A house had been attacked. Without a moment's hesitation, Reed's patrol car tore through the vacant streets, sirens wailing, lights painting the buildings in flashes of red and blue. He arrived at a quiet suburban home, a place that now looked like a war zone. The front door hung open, a silent invitation into the chaos within. Inside, the scene was one of utter devastation. Furniture was shattered, its splintered remains scattered across the floor like driftwood. Shards of glass from broken windows glittered dangerously under the beam of his flashlight. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the air, thick with unspoken horror, and there, amidst the wreckage, sat a small figure, a young boy no older than 10, huddled in a corner, his small frame trembling uncontrollably. Tears streamed down his pale face, carving clean tracks through the grime. He was the only one left. Reed's heart clenched. He holstered his weapon and approached slowly, kneeling beside the boy to meet his terrified gaze. "It's okay," Reed said, his voice soft, a stark contrast to the violence that had just occurred. "You're safe now." "I'm here." The boy, Ethan, struggled to find his voice, his breath coming in ragged, shallow gasps. When he finally spoke, it was a mere whisper, a single name that sent a chill down Reed's spine: the Raven. The room fell silent again, but this time it was a silence charged with dread. The Raven. The name was infamous, a legend whispered in the darkest corners of the city. He was the most feared gang leader in Chicago, a ghost known for his ruthlessness and, most importantly, for eliminating every single witness to his crimes. If Ethan had seen him, it wasn't just a testimony. It was a death sentence. The department moved fast. Protective custody was ordered immediately, and Red, feeling a profound sense of responsibility, personally took charge of the boy's safety. But in a city of secrets, word travels like wildfire. As Reed drove Ethan towards a designated safe house, his eyes flickered to the rearview mirror, a sleek, black SUV. It was following them, its dark windows hiding the threat within. Before he could even radio for backup, the night exploded in a symphony of chaos. Gunfire erupted. The rear window of the patrol car shattered, sending a spray of glass into the vehicle. Ethan screamed, a raw, primal sound of terror, and instinctively ducked down. Reed's training kicked in. He wrenched the steering wheel, swerving sharply off the main road and into the labyrinthine network of an abandoned industrial area. Tires screeched on the cracked asphalt, the protest of rubber against pavement echoing through the desolate landscape. Metal clashed as he clipped a rusted fence, the pursuit relentless. The chase was on. He finally slammed on the brakes near a massive derelict warehouse, its windows like vacant eyes staring into the darkness. "Come on," Reed shouted, pulling Ethan from the car and dragging him inside the decaying structure. The air inside was cold and damp, smelling of rust and decay. Shadows danced and stretched in the faint moonlight filtering through the broken roof, playing tricks on the eyes. It was a perfect hiding spot, but also a perfect trap. Moments later, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from outside. They had been followed. The Ravens' men were here. "We know the kid is here," a low, gravelly voice growled from the entrance. "The boss wants this done. End it quickly." Reed pushed Ethan behind a stack of old crates, positioning himself in front of the boy. His gun raised, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Then the darkness was torn apart by muzzle flashes. Shots fired, the sharp reports echoing like thunder in the cavernous space. Sparks flew as bullets ricocheted off metal beams. Reed returned fire, his movements precise and economical, a desperate dance between cover and attack. He fought fiercely, his every action driven by a single, primal instinct: protect the boy, but he was outnumbered. For every one he suppressed, two more seemed to emerge from the shadows. It was a losing battle. Just as his hope began to fade, as the circle of enemies tightened, a new sound pierced the night. Sirens wailing, growing closer, a beautiful screaming promise of salvation. Backup had arrived. The gang members, caught between the lone officer and the approaching cavalry, cursed and melted back into the shadows from which they came. For now, Ethan was safe. The next morning, the sterile environment of the police station felt like a world away from the night's violence. Detective Maria Alvarez, one of the sharpest and most empathetic investigators on the force, sat with Ethan with incredible patience and a gentle, reassuring presence. She helped him unlock the memories he had buried under layers of fear. Slowly, piece by piece, the story emerged. Ethan revealed everything he had seen, everything he had overheard, the Ravens' main hideout, details of his operations, and, crucially, the location of a warehouse where evidence of his entire criminal empire was stored. This was it. This was their chance to finally cage the Raven. A full-scale night operation was planned with military precision. SWAT gear was donned, weapons checked and double-checked. Night vision goggles activated. As darkness fell, the city seemed to hold its collective breath. Under the cloak of a moonless sky, tactical teams surrounded the Raven stronghold, the very warehouse Ethan had identified. A tense silence hung in the air, broken only by the quiet commands crackling over the radios. "Move." Reed's voice cut through the tension, and the raid began. Doors were breached, and the warehouse erupted into a controlled storm of organized chaos. Gunfire echoed, much louder and more intense than the night before. Shadows ran, flashlights cut through the darkness, and shouts of police roared through the vast space. Reed pushed forward, his focus absolute, navigating the maelstrom of the raid. Through the flashes of light and swirling smoke, he spotted him, the raven, making a break for the rooftop. Without a second thought, Reed gave chase, pounding up a metal staircase, the clang of his boots echoing his racing heart. On the roof, the city stretched out below them, a glittering, vast, and living tapestry of light and life. The raven, cornered, turned to face him. A smirk played on his lips. "All this trouble," he sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. For one little boy, Reed leveled his weapon, his aim unwavering. "He's not just a witness," he replied, his voice low and steady. "He's a life, and I protect lives." The raven's smirk vanished. His hand darted for the weapon tucked into his waistband, but Reed was faster. One shot. A single, clean report that was swallowed by the city's hum. Then silence. It was over. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the station. Ethan sat beside Reed, not with fear in his eyes, but with a quiet sense of peace. For the first time since that terrible night, a small, genuine smile touched his face. Reed placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're free now," he said softly. "You're safe." And in that moment, looking at the boy who had survived the unthinkable, Reed remembered exactly why he had become a police officer. It wasn't for the medals. It wasn't for the praise or the promotions. It was for this: to be the shield for those who cannot save themselves. To be a beacon of hope in the darkest of nights. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story of courage and justice, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.